In 2003, I began a project. I was a freshman in high school. It wasn't just any project. It was the beginning of a book series I call World of Vim, or what we will for YouTube, Project Vim. And it started off as a creative writing project in my freshman year of high school English class. But it did become much bigger than just that assignment. Before I tell you some more, let's rewind a little bit. Growing up in the 90s, when the internet was still getting its footing, AOL was a thing. And if any of you guys are from the 90s and are a 90s baby, you'll remember chat rooms. When AOL was starting off, I was probably nearing the end of my elementary age going into middle school, and I got into the roleplay chats where you would pretend to create a D&D character, and you would go in and you would write these epic adventures and fantasy stories, and you would meet random strangers up online, and that's kind of where my writing adventures began. But as time progressed and we got into more of the internet, I had met some new friends who were also part of this writing, and they introduced me to what was called a relay, and those were performed on message boards, and the idea and the concept were still the same. However, this is where everything was posted and kept. It didn't just go away like a chat room did. So from there, we ended up writing stories on these message boards, and one person would add, and then the story would continue. So when I was in middle school, we would do these stories on Loki. God. All right, sorry, cat. From the time I started doing the role plays on AOL chat rooms, I eventually got introduced to relays in on message boards, and there used to be a website that I did all of this on called werewolf.com, and a few friends had introduced me to it, and what we would do is go in there as a group of people and our usernames, and we would start off a story with a script or prompt, and then one person would add 2 or 3 paragraphs, and then the next person would add, and we would just keep going and going and going. So that's kind of where my writing game upped a little bit more, and but I always went back to the story I started writing. So it was never just one thing. There was all different sources coming together at once. So I made a lot of friends online in the early 2000s as this time progressed forward, and I never stopped. So between the role plays and the relays, I always came back around to Project Vim. Eventually, I ended up going to art school as soon as I graduated from high school. So that really steered me in the direction just to keep making and telling stories through just writing and artwork. But life, as it does, has its own plans, and right after I turned 19, I found out I was pregnant with my first kiddo, and everything kind of came to a screeching halt. From there, after she was born, it wasn't much longer that the second one came around in 2010, and I had my third in 2013. And even with being a mom, and even being as busy as I was during that time, I had also started a photography business, and I'm still doing that to this day. It's been almost 18 years now. I still come back to Project Vim. It is something that I just can't get away from. And so over time, like a lazy Susan, I have rotated between photography, trying to get into shape, having children, running a business. Like, everything has come together where it has always been back to this focus. And some people knew, but I wasn't very confident in sharing a lot of this outside of with my internet friends, so it made it really tough to really expand on it, and I didn't know to research. Over the years, as I was raising the kids and I had my first 3, running a photography business, you can kind of hear them in the background probably. I've got 2 younger ones right now. Over time, I would get my ideas in random spaces. I could wake up from having a dream. I could be out on a run. I might be in the shower. Cats and children, cats and children, cats and children. So after I had my third kiddo, you know, of course I'm busy. I have a photography business. I have 3 kids. At that time, I believe I was about 25 years old, and I had no knowledge on what a literary agent was. I didn't know what any planning of any sort was. I just knew that I loved her. I did experience a major shift in my focus though, and in 2016 my mom had passed in the beginning of the year, and that kind of shattered a lot of my focus with everything that I had been working towards. She had passed that March. And at that point, I really did not have any kind of energy or creative anything to move forward. And that took me about a year. I ended up going, that's when I started art school back up in 2016. And I ended up pouring myself into that just as an escape to try to get my brain to go somewhere else. And so I ended up doing that. Just as things were starting to get better, my brother Mark ended up passing in 2018, and you know, it was a lot to digest. And on top of all that, in between both of them passing, I'd also gone through a divorce, so we were juggling a lot of emotional ups and downs during that time frame. And I mean me. So, you know, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with myself. I wanted to try to figure out, like, just in general, how to breathe again. And so that took some time. So after my brother had passed in 2018, I had actually started seeing my now husband, and it wasn't until 2019 that I moved out here from Houston to Vegas, and kind of just was trying to figure out how to put different pieces back together and everything. So moving out here was a major change in environment, and then COVID hit. So after COVID hit, I actually, you know, I'm remarried at this point, and I had gotten pregnant with my fourth, with my now husband, and this gave me a lot of time to just kind of sit around, now that the older 3 were older and they were all in school, to kind of dip my toes back into the water, to maybe start writing again. And then, so during 2020, just before the baby was born in the following year, in that January, I had done some picking back up and some artwork, and, you know, played around with it a little bit, and it was great. So I had my fourth in the beginning of 21, and was trying to experience and live out my time with a new baby. And in 2021, when my fourth was born, I ended up having to take a little bit more time off, again, pausing because of having another kid. And so there was a little bit here that was done, but a lot of it there having to deal with the new baby and recovering. And I was also trying to get established out here with my photography business. That never stopped in everything that's ever happened. So that took place. Then in 2022, I believe it was just straight up photos and business. And I was just starting to get comfortable with the idea of picking up writing again. During that time in 2022, I had really taken a good look at the story and wanted to see, like, what I wanted to do with it. I ended up noticing that there was a lot of gaps that were in the story after I reread the last manuscript that I had put together. I don't even remember what draft number it was, because I had been writing on it for so many years over time, and changing things and cleaning it up and just trying to make it into something that I was proud of. And again, the insecurity of writing and not sharing it with anybody, family, friends, some knew, a lot didn't. I had actually taken it upon myself to kind of figure out, like, what needed to happen to make it even better. So that's when I started learning about literary agents and learning about the editing process that went into it. And I wasn't the greatest at it, but I was starting to pick up more and more from sources on the internet. So at the end of 2022, learning about book marketing and all of that stuff, I started to get really interested in, like, really picking it up. And then in the beginning of 2023, I found out I was pregnant with our 5th and final kiddo. So it just the cycle continued. During 2023, I worked the whole entire time for my photo business, and I was also starting to research even further because I had that time. I didn't work as much, but I did work, and you know, I had learned even more. So this was really exciting to have that momentum when I had never had momentum like that before. And during all this time too, I have been reading, researching, so I feel like my experience in life and just all of this new gained knowledge really put me in a position that I felt like, okay, like maybe I should keep going with this and not put it on the back burner any further. So in August of 2023, my youngest was born. It was a really complicated birth, but we ended up making it through, went through the whole NICU, that whole 9 yards. And so for, I think, almost 3 weeks, I had boarded at the hospital where she was born. And I was very bored in between taking care of her and going back and forth. So there was a lot of downtime to research and kind of figure out, like, you know, ideas and things that were starting to come back to me whenever it was just sitting at the hospital all day, every day for that almost 3-week period. When she came home, I actually ended up researching different platforms to put all of my writing into because I just had notes upon notes upon notes everywhere. And so it made it difficult to stay organized. And I ended up finding Dabble Writer. Really awesome platform. It's kind of like Scrivener. It's a lot more than what Word is. And I really wanted to find something that could keep everything in one spot. So I ended up choosing this platform, and for the last, I would say 12 months, now that we're in January of 2025 as I'm recording this. It has been such a wonderful source of just organizing. They don't use AI to tell you how to write. They don't do any of that stuff on there. It's simply just to keep your work organized, for you to take notes, to add comments, you can upload anything you need that is yours, not pre-written or anything like that. It's been a fabulous tool to use. So I have been on there for a year now, and it has definitely upped the game in my writing for just keeping everything put together. I've actually been working on this video here since about July, maybe August of last year. And again, it's just that confidence level of trying to get all of this out, trying not to be a perfectionist because it's January and I've been trying to be a perfectionist with all of it. But I'm really excited to share this with the writing community, Authortube. I haven't started on TikTok, kind of waiting to see what happens with that, but YouTube was the place that I needed to be. And I also went to a book festival here in Vegas back a couple months ago. I believe it was October, and I learned so much stuff there and got to meet a few people who were already seasoned, traditionally published authors. So that was the route that I knew that I wanted to take. Coming here on YouTube is a way for me to be able to connect with you guys, connect hopefully with other writers, other people who have been published, and just try to find my way and navigate in the writing community now that I'm actually feeling confident in putting myself out there for everything. So the purpose of this video is to introduce to you guys World of Vim, or what we'll call it for all of my writing vlogs. It will be called Project Vim, and I'm very excited to introduce this to you guys. So if you are interested in following this now that I will be pursuing the completion of this draft and manuscript this year, I will actually be going to some of the writing conferences and hopefully finished enough to be able to pitch in person this spring or this summer. I'm looking elsewhere outside of Vegas too to do these writing conferences for. So I'm very excited for it. If you have any that you want to suggest that you've been to or you found were super helpful, like definitely comment below and let me know like what your experience is with those, because I only really started researching that probably within the last, I would say 3 months, maybe 4 months, because I didn't even know they were a thing until I went to the book festival back in October, and a lot of people had mentioned that they were a valuable resource to pursue. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with everything, and I'm very excited to present to you guys Project Vim, and that's finally a wrap with this video. So follow and like and subscribe if you want to keep up with the journey here, because I will be trying to post at least once a week. whether it be on what I'm doing or maybe some tips that I've learned over the years with everything, or just whatever I can put in together for this writing journey now that I feel good enough to be able to post it out there for the world to see. So thank you again for following along and watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, hopefully with my kids not screaming in the background. Have a great one.